All right, so we're back here on another Overreaction Monday. We are here once again on another episode of Overreaction Monday. We're here. Couple guys. Anybody on here Victory Monday? No, we're all. Well, I am. I guess we had a bye week, but I guess you consider. But everybody's on a losing end this week. What's going on, Mo?
You know, hey, you got to take your wins and your losses, bro. Bad loss, first time in 7 weeks that I've been on Overreaction Monday without Victory Monday. So I'll take what comes with it.
All right, what's going on, Jared?
Nothing much, coach. Nothing much, coach. I don't have a loss today because I'm the king of neutrality when it comes to football and not having a team. So I'm here to enjoy the show, and I'm also going to team up with you, coach, and Pat as well to make sure that we don't have a 1 hour lamenting the Cowboys' loss show. We are here to prevent that on this Overreaction Monday.
Absolutely. Pat, what's going on, Pat?
What's happening, guys? No, that can't happen. The Cowboys loss didn't even matter. They're in the worst division of football. We'll get more into that later.
Whoa, watch your mouth. All right, Kenneth, what's going on, Kenneth?
Oh, just sad more than anything else. Yeah. But no, I'll be fine. We'll get over it. As Pat said, worst division in football, especially that team up in Washington. So we're fine.
I mean, hey, why you look like Kenneth looks like you look like a Spider-Man villain right now. What's on his hood over there?
Right, dark. Exactly. Right. So, fellas, let's get into it. The biggest winner this week. I'm gonna go with you first, Kenneth. Your biggest winner in week 9 of the NFL season.
People who bet underdogs, because if you went out and put in a parlay ticket that included the Jags and the Broncos. Honestly, even you throw Miami in there because I think that one was a bit of a toss-up. The Browns were underdogs. Giants were underdogs. I mean, if you threw in an underdog parlay ticket, you may retire because you made a lot of money off of that parlay ticket. And, I mean, it's good to see. I think it just goes to show any given Sunday, any team can win. The fact that the Bills only put up 6 points against Jacksonville, I mean, that's something that I don't think anyone in the world would have expected. So overall, a big winner's got to be anyone who bet an underdog yesterday.
Yeah. Pat, what you got?
Man, there was a bunch of losers. I think the biggest winner has to be Baltimore moving to 6-2. The way they came back in that game against Minnesota. Let's face it. I mean, that division with Cleveland winning again, Cincinnati, everybody's being high on Cincinnati. I haven't been. I think their defense is bad, but we'll get to that. But their schedule down the stretch is pretty tough. They got Cleveland 2 times. They got Pittsburgh 2 more times. They got Cincinnati again, and then they got Green Bay and the Rams. So for them to get a little bit of extra cushion on this division is a big win for them.
Yeah, big time. Jared, your biggest winner this week.
So one of the guys I really want to point out here, going off of Pat's point, is Lamar Jackson, and what I think is slowly becoming an MVP case for him this season, because that is now another game where the Ravens need him to come up big, where, yes, he's made mistakes in the game, but when the moment comes to it, he comes up clutch for them, makes a big-time throw, runs for a bunch of yards, and that's exactly what he did once again with Minnesota. You think back to the Kansas City Chiefs game as well. Like, Lamar Jackson is kind of in that territory. I kind of compare it to what we've done with Giannis in the NBA, where he's won an MVP award, and now we don't want to have him in the conversation anymore because we want him to do it in the playoffs, despite the fact that the regular season MVP award has nothing to do with what you do in the playoffs and your resume there. So Lamar Jackson's MVP case to me is slowly skyrocketing in a week where Kyler Murray missed because he didn't play in the Cardinals game, where Matthew Stafford looked really bad against the Tennessee Titans. And it was a bye week for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so Tom Brady didn't get to, well, was it a bye week or are they playing tonight? Honestly, my brain is scrambled with the schedule. All right, bye week. My brain's kind of scrambled, but with a bye week now, like there's a case to be made that someone new can enter in that top 3, top 4 conversation. And with that performance, I think Lamar Jackson enters himself in that conversation. So, like, his MVP case to me is a big winner. And kind of to what Pat's talking about with giving yourself an edge in the division, the Arizona Cardinals, to me, are a big winner because you get that win without Kyler Murray. You get the Rams losing, gets you that bit of breathing room that you need in the NFC West, because that is the division where one game at the top can make a difference. And the Cardinals right now can say that they have that game edge against the Rams right now, and they have the season edge over them because they beat them earlier. So it was a pretty good weekend for teams that have running quarterbacks, or running backs at quarterback, as certain former NFL GMs like to call them. Yeah.
Yeah. Mo, your biggest winner this week.
Man, it's there's a couple ways I could go, but I'm gonna go with the New England Patriots. I'm gonna go with Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. They are now 5-4. Obviously, the season doesn't end today, but the fact this is actually the first time after, like, I think after 6 weeks where New England, since Tom Brady left, it would actually have a playoff spot at this point in the season. We're heading to the second half. They have a semi-favorable schedule. They do play the Bills twice. They haven't yet played the Bills, but the way they're playing and the way the Bills have given up a couple games that kind of surprised us, they could go 1-1 easily. They could beat the Dolphins. They play the Dolphins again. They could beat the Dolphins. They got the Browns coming up. That's going to be big time. Both of them are 5-4. Then they got the Falcons. Like, if the Falcons are trending downward and the Patriots are trending upward, then I would assume they win that game also. People are going to go back to, like, it's like a rematch of the Super Bowl, like anybody cares because Tom Brady's not there anymore. But it's still going to get built up that way, especially if there's bad football games, not a lot of great matchups. But I think the New England Patriots are there. And then I'm going to give love. I've hated on them. I've hated on him. Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. They played well this week. Like, they got to be one of the biggest winners. He's been my biggest loser multiple times this year. So I'm going to give him his love. They're the biggest winner. He played pretty well. Shut a lot of us Baker haters up. Baker haters up, but, that's what he does once every 6 weeks. But we got about another 5 weeks where I could keep calling him the biggest loser. Nick Chubb played amazing. Their offense didn't look like they missed a step without Odell, which is kind of what we expected to happen. But they played what we thought was a good team. So for them to win that way, be on the right side of 500, I got to give the Browns their credit this week.
And like to your point, mine was the Browns as well. I think this was, I call it a season-saving type of victory. I mean, you sit down and think about it. If you would have, last week they lost to Pittsburgh in such a bizarre fashion. They didn't even have a damn field goal kicker. And then come back here and actually, beat the brakes off the Cincinnati Bengals, who were a team that we thought was kind of somewhat of a playoff team per se. That was a great victory for him. And then, like you said, this could be the November and December to remember for Baker Mayfield. This could be a repeat of 2020 potentially. And then I think to me the biggest winner was the Tennessee Titans. I think what they did, almost like to Pat point when he talked about the Baltimore Ravens, they separated themselves as well. These two teams now, are sitting at the top of the AFC, especially with the Buffalo loss last week. Well, not last week, but yesterday. They're pretty much in the driver's seat per se in the AFC, these two teams. And even I think, and it's funny, Tennessee came from the jump. I think I knew the moment when, because you realize in the beginning that Michael Buffer was doing the introduction and they kicked the ball in the middle of the quote unquote the hype, whatever the pregame of that. So I was like, you know what? They came in like, I don't care about no Michael Buffer doing what he got to do. We're gonna kick the field goal. We're gonna take care of business. And it's almost in the defense is starting to come to light. We always talk about Tennessee back in the day where we always look at them as somewhat of an offensive team. They kind of always struggled on defense. I think defense is now starting to now catch their wave and the kind of defense that we thought a Mike Babel type of guy would run. So I like what Tennessee's doing thus far. Shout out to Walker and the Tennessee Titans. But for this week and this week,
no shout out ever.
Hey, you get a win in LA. Hey,
yeah, it's a big win for them.
You get a little win. You get a little love from me. But yeah, so fellas, we talking about the winners. Let's talk about the losers. Kenneth, biggest loser this week.
I mean, there's a bunch, honestly. I don't want to talk about teams that I think are still in the playoff hunt because, yeah, it's a loss, but they can make up for it. I think Minnesota, like to Pat's point about Baltimore winning that game, Minnesota losing that game completely kills their chances, I think, at making the playoffs this year. The schedule is not great for them down the stretch. That's a game that you have to close out, though. I mean, we keep talking about Minnesota losing these close games, and I mean, they lost to Cooper Rush last week, and then this week they look like they're in a great spot, and then they just choke. And, they had the missed kick against Arizona too. And overall for me, like, I think that just eliminates them from the playoffs. I know they're only sitting on 5 losses now, but really to get into the playoffs, you got to be 10-7. And I don't see it from this group going 7-2 the rest of the way. So to me, I think they just eliminated themselves yesterday. And not closing out games is a big reason why they're sitting in this situation.
Yeah, big time. Pat, your biggest loser this week.
Yeah, everything you said is spot on with Minnesota. I'm going to go with the Saints, though, because they had a chance to take over the NFC South. They have the tiebreaker against Tampa for now. They go in and lose to the Falcons, which the Falcons have been playing better, but you got to get that game. Their schedule coming up is not easy. They got at Tennessee, at Philly, Philly's been playing closer games as of late. They played the Chargers stuff yesterday, and then they got Buffalo and Dallas after that. So they missed a really good opportunity here to separate themselves, not only because that NFC's last playoff spot is really tight. There's so many teams, 4 or 5 losses, and they could have, almost secured their playoff spot. But now with Trevor Siemian at the helm, I don't think they're very comfortable there. So we'll see. He didn't play bad, but he turned it on in the fourth quarter. I think they scored 22 in the fourth, and we'll see. I don't trust that. I think the Saints missed a huge opportunity. I think they're the week's biggest loser.
Yeah. Jerg, what you got?
Very tempted to have the Atlanta sports curse as my biggest loser, of this past week. Like, the Falcons didn't end up choking that game. The Braves won the World Series. Right. You're telling me Georgia's going to beat Alabama and win the national championship? Come on now. Well, actually, that's probably the most realistic thing. But no,
right.
My biggest losers this week, it's 2 different teams, and kind of one loser going in the past and one loser going in the future. I'll start out with the future real quick. The Green Bay Packers future at quarterback. Not looking good. Jordan Love just looked absolutely deplorable in that first game. And I really do feel bad for Jordan Love. Like, I have no malicious intent towards him, but I have had a vitriolic, deep hate of the Packers front office for a good decade or so now. And the stat that I saw just punctuates it perfectly. Ever since 2017, when Aaron Rodgers misses games, the Packers offense only averages 13.8 points per game. That is worse than the 0-16 Lions. That is worse than the 0-16 Browns. Case closed if you want to say that Aaron Rodgers is the whole organization, like myself likes to say sometimes. Boom, there it is. So, future of the Green Bay Packers, it's looking tough. Then again, when you have 3 decades of Hall of Fame quarterbacks, you're bound to have a downtrodden time, unless Bill Belichick is your coach. And Mike McCarthy was no Bill Belichick, and neither is Matt LaFleur. Well, I think he's actually a good coach, but nonetheless. And my other loser is the Vegas Raiders 2020 draft class, because it's been tough. It has been tough, fellas. So this is the rundown of what's happened to the Raiders 2020 draft class. Round 1, Henry Ruggs. I'm not going to go into detail about that. Round 1 also, Damon Arnett, cut. That's what happens when you just randomly wave a gun on social media. Whatever happened to those Herm Edwards rookie minicamp classes where he talks to these guys? I wish they did that again. Round 3, Lynn Bowden, traded 0 snaps. Round 3, Brian Edwards. He's actually a starting wide receiver, but how many people knew that he was one of the starting wide receivers on the team? There. Tanner Muse, cut, 0 snaps. John Simpson, backup. Amik Robertson, benched. That's not good. That is not good at all. And it's ugly. Like we always talk about when teams miss on drafts. Like we talk about when they miss on their first rounders. We talk about when they make a pick in the second round and they probably should have. How do you miss on 7-8 picks in one draft? That's not good. That's really not good. So I got to say, Vegas, 2020 was a terrible year for all of us, but apparently it was just not the year for Vegas Raiders to draft any kind of stable core to this team. And then again, with what's happened in that organization recently, stability isn't exactly the word to describe them. So,
Jerg's a savage.
Got to come back hot. I got to come back hot.
And it's funny because we were sitting here last week. 2 of those first round picks were still on this team, and to think a week from today, we're sitting here present. Both of those first round picks are gone. They are released from this team. It's amazing how things can just happen so quick. Let's see, Mo, what you got?
So I just want to bounce back on Jerg's point. So if anybody remembers that draft, we're all draft junkies. We do. You do every name that he read off. all those draft picks when they were picked were all questionable. People didn't agree with the Henry Ruggs pick when you had CeeDee Lamb out there. Like, people felt like they should have went with CeeDee Lamb. People felt like they should have went with Jalen Reagor. He was a member in a heavy, Jerry Jeudy was there. Like, he was the first receiver taken in a wide receiver heavy draft. And pretty much everybody else but him has had success. Justin Jefferson's looked amazing. CeeDee Lamb, we know he looks really well. Jerry Jeudy, when he's not hurt, plays good. I mean, Jalen Reagor been hit and miss. Then Damon Arnett was graded as a late second, early third round pick, and they took him at pick number 18, one of the first corners being taken, and everybody was like, whoa. Like, and I'm a big Ohio State fan. I was like, whoa, Arnett went in the first round. Okay, they're the scouts, not me. But Lynn Bowden, his pick, when he got picked, it was questionable. Why would they get him? There was still a little bit of a reach. His stock was dropping. Yeah, he had some flashes in college, but we don't know. So all their picks were all questioned, and now look, like, they're either on the bench, cut, or they're starting due to the fact that one of those other guys were benched or cut or just no longer with the team due to getting in trouble. So, but if I go my biggest losers, one, I'm going to have to go me and Kenneth for riding the Carolina train because they suck. They're a bad team, okay? And Kenneth, I guess I was off board last week. Kenneth decided that, hey, you know what? I'm going to jump off board this week. Carolina's a bad team. Sam Darnold is a bad quarterback. I started believing in Sam Darnold. I felt like Carolina was set up for him to bounce back, look good. He had weapons around him, an okay offensive line. He had the ultimate weapon in CMC. Obviously, CMC comes back, gets 5 catches out of the backfield. I don't think he didn't play up to the standard, but he is coming back off of IR. But they suck. Like, they scored 6 points against the New England Patriots. Sam Darnold threw 3 interceptions, and on top of that, he's hurt. So he's day-to-day, week-to-week right now. We don't know if he's going to play. And with them trying to fight for a playoff spot, they're trending down big time while some other teams are staying around and staying afloat. And I think that's why it was so important that Philly should have won that game against the Chargers, just because you would have been sitting there at the same record, as Carolina. You would have been one or half a game behind Atlanta, who's 4-4, already had their bye week. Like, Philly would have been sitting at the decent spot in that wild card spot because a lot of those teams are trending down. And Pat, I'm sorry, I got to go with the San Francisco 49ers for pretty much the same reason why we've said everybody. That's why I say it. They should have won that game. They were primed to win that game, but now them in Minnesota sitting at 3-5, like, it's not looking good. I guess the only difference in Minnesota is it's not Kellen Mond's season for Minnesota. I don't know if they move on and see what Kellen Mond is, because I don't think Kirk Cousins was the problem. But I think in San Francisco, I think when Trey Lance gets healthy, I think now the rest of the year we about to see what Trey Lance does. But I think it was very key for San Francisco to win that game, to stay right there, because they would have possibly been trending upwards. Russell Wilson coming back, so they've almost kind of secured their spot. They might be the last place team in the division, which we thought was initially going to be the best division in football, but it hasn't turned out that way due to injuries and a few other things up to this point.
Yeah. And to your point, Jerry, all I gotta say is free Mike Mayock, because I don't think he's not making those calls. I guarantee you, I would bet anything that he is not making those calls for his draft picks.
I think he's just there for the check at this point, because now that Gruden's gone, like that, he was literally hired to be Gruden's puppet GM. Yeah, and now that Gruden is gone, like what's the point of him still being there? Like I don't know if they're trying to like give him a classy exit or whatever. But it's just like I kind of feel bad for the guy. It's like he didn't ask for any of this.
Right, he did not. And I'm telling, and I keep on everybody saying Mayock messed around. I'm like, no, Mike Mayock is probably one of the greatest football minds when it comes to scouting. People don't understand it, like, especially if you watch like a Notre Dame football game back in the day. I mean, he's precise. He's on, and I'm like, there's no way he would be making these picks. Guys who second round picks and reaching for them in the first round and not trading and getting value for it. So I definitely, like, to your point, Jerk, free Mike Mayock. And to Kendall's point, the Minnesota Vikings, you gotta think to yourself, I mean, they have so many heartbreaking losses this year. Okay, they've lost 5 games. All of them have been by 7 points or less. And you gotta think to yourself, like, God, you sit down, and I know when they think about this, it's just like execution. That we're only a few plays away from becoming, like you said, a playoff caliber team. And it's just one of those things where you look at that situation, and then also the most point with San Francisco, 3-5, and I thought this definitely was a good opportunity if they wanted to kind of make a leeway, because now you look at Atlanta, the final wild card spot, they're 4-4, and they would make the playoffs if the playoff ended today. If the regular season ended today, they would be in that position, and and like you said, like San Francisco, it was lost a golden opportunity, especially now with Russell Wilson coming back. Could have kind of gained ground, at least be the third team in the NFC West. But then also Buffalo. I think Buffalo's starting to scare me. I know a few weeks ago I told people, everybody in Niagara Falls head to the airport by any means necessary and get to LA in February, but I don't know. If you got a travel agent, I hope you ain't putting a deposit down on my behalf, because I'm sorry, I don't know. It's something about Josh Allen. He does these, these kind of, it's weird. Like I thought that they were good enough to kind of overcome their running back issues and not having trust in their running game. But you can see like these instances where Josh Allen is, doing these little quarterback sneaks and he ain't getting in. And it's like a lot of stuff you think to yourself, man, you got to trust your running game. At least give you a yard and a half yards here or there. Like that's really scaring me. So it's like I look at that situation, then only mustering 6 points for a team that I knew, for me personally, I thought they were probably, in my personal opinion at the time, was the best team in football. That we played as far as my squad. But yeah, those are my biggest losers. But yeah. So
Yeah,
fellas,
Buffalo has to go on there. Like, they scored 6 points, and it was against Jacksonville. Like,
right.
I mean, and we could throw Dallas on there. They went biggest losers too, just because like you just look bad. But as far as like when you look in the scheme of things, like Dallas won't go on this list unless they lose next week. Then at that point, they're the biggest loser, dropping 2 in a row after winning the game. But like 6 points. With Josh Allen, the plethora of weapons they have, Jacksonville's defense that plenty of other teams have taken advantage of, like everything is all bad over there in Jacksonville, and here comes Buffalo, 6 points. Like,
and anyone that was sitting there just like monitoring the games is thinking, okay, Buffalo's going to turn it on at some point. Like at some point they're going to rattle off like 14 points, win handily, like not a big deal. And it just kept going and going. And it's like, are they really going to put up 6 points today? Like, it was that bad. Like, as you said, Jacksonville's not a good team this year, not trying to win games this year. And to put up 6 points in that game. And also, like, Dallas, yeah, the score looks better at the end, but, like, they were also shut out until, like, 5 minutes left. You throw in a couple garbage time touchdowns to whoever the hell that receiver was, because it certainly wasn't any of the Dallas ones I have in fantasy. And Dak out here screwing me just like Matt Stafford did. I'm not bitter at all, though.
Not bitter at all.
Yeah, that Buffalo. Yeah, Buffalo offense. It's similar with the Chiefs, though. They don't take what's given to them. They need to run the ball, take the short throws. They're trying to throw bombs every play, every single time.
Greedy.
And they've got great receivers for like these like short to medium routes as well. Like,
yeah,
that's what
they'll
I don't
do it
understand.
2 or 3. They'll do it 2 or 3 times in a row, but Mahomes and Allen want to throw the ball down the field. They just got to be patient. Otherwise, teams are just going to catch it. That's what's been happening. I trust McDermott. I think they make the adjustments. And the Bills' defense, I mean, it was Jacksonville, but the Bills' defense has been playing pretty good over the season, so we'll see.
But that not the run game, though. Like, you drafted Devin Singletary. You drafted Zach Moss. Like, and people felt like you reached for both, essentially. You could have grabbed another prospect. Everybody kind of was like, you don't trust your run game in the first place, so what are you really grabbing running back this early? And you see a lot of guys picked after them or signed in free agency or whatever are panning out a lot better than them. So my biggest concern is Singletary was good coming out of college, and so was Zach Moss. Like, Zach Moss was big time coming out of Utah. Like, so what is it that Buffalo's doing that their run game is obsolete? Like, you can't tell me that Devin Singletary and Zach Moss are so bad, but you have Miami handing Savon Ahmed the ball 10 to 12 times a game. Like, it's not about him being great, but like they at least trust it, give him the ball 10 to 12 times a game. And here, Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, people know who they are. They're adequate running backs. They probably would be successful in another system. You just can't figure out the run game. Like, your quarterback is literally everything when you have your starting running backs. They're not hurt, unlike what Lamar Jackson has to get through in Baltimore. That's just one of those, like, you're going to need to lean on that run game at some point in the playoffs. We know the game slows down. It gets a little more physical. You can start beating. You need those 3 or 4 yard plays, 3rd and 3, be able to hand it to your running back. If you absolutely can't do that come playoff time, I think that could be the Bills' biggest problem and why they can't reach the Super Bowl.
Yep. Yeah, they have neglected the run game, which to me is befuddling. And it's late, and it's this time of year. Like, you think about it, like, to ignore. But yeah, man, it is definitely crazy. But yeah, so fellas, let's go into our biggest overreaction. Now we got week 9. Again, what's I have remember when I do the roll, I can't look at you because I'm gonna start laughing. But anyway, so biggest overreaction for week 9 of the NFL season. Kenneth.
One team in the AFC East is making the playoffs, and it sure as hell is not the New England Patriots. I'm not buying into the hype. Listen, let's like really look at their 5-4. They beat the Jets twice. They beat Carolina, who looks like dog shit. And they beat the Texans. And yeah, you get the Chargers one. Sure. I'll give you your one quality win that you have this year. Next 6 weeks, Cleveland, Atlanta, who's playing well, Titans, Bills twice, Colts. They're lucky to come out of that with 2 wins. So for me, I'm just not buying it. I don't see it happening. I think New England, we're going to be sitting back here with 2 weeks to go saying that they're already eliminated from playoffs.
So they be going Christmas shopping early.
Christmas shopping early. And I cannot wait for those New England fans to go Christmas shopping early because they already had enough fun over the last 25 years. You don't just get to have one bad season and then bounce back. Let's at least make it 2 or 3.
Exactly. Make it 30 years.
30.
Pat.
All right, first of all, the biggest overreaction was the damn announcer on Red Zone losing his mind over Josh Allen, sacking Josh Allen, and Josh Allen picking off Josh Allen. It got to the most annoying point. I wanted to turn the TV off, but outside of that, I think the whole week, we could just kind of take this week and throw the whole week out. Dallas is not a bad football team. Like he said, the Patriots aren't, going to go on some crazy. I saw a thing today, someone on TV. I didn't watch it. I saw a clip. They might mess around and win the AFC. Like, get out of here. That's not happening.
Ryan Clark said it.
Yeah.
Mac Jones.
They're the
Mac Jones
best team in the AFC.
Mac Jones was 12 for 18 for 130 yards. If Sam Darnold wasn't throwing pick sixes and seeing ghosts again, it's just ridiculous. But yeah, just take this whole week. It's all overreaction. Nothing. We should delete this week. That's it. And then we'll just start again next week. That's it. Period. Dallas is good. There's so many upsets. Bills are going to be fine. It's just a laundry list. I'm just so flustered over the whole week, but just nobody overreact to this week.
Sky Hansen is the GOAT, bro.
Oh, come on. That Josh Allen stuff was out of hand. Like,
yeah, it was a little.
You got cool it, Scott. Like, we all get it. They got the same name. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, it's not even like it's an uncommon name. It's Josh Allen. Like, yeah, give me a break.
It got ridiculous. I mean, it kept going, though, because they get interception. Yeah. I was waiting for him to, throw a touchdown next or something. I don't know, man. It was crazy.
Pan over to Josh Allen. He's looking at Josh Allen like, okay, right. Cool. Like, yeah, he's supposed to. He's supposed to sack the QB. Relax, Scott.
7 hours of uninterrupted football.
Uninterrupted.
The worst part, coverage. Are we going to talk? Do you want to talk about the witching hour? I can't stand that either. They need to get rid of that.
and what's so funny? I never really watched Red Zone. I only watched when we got bad weeks. And actually, I was watching Dallas game. So I really didn't even watch Red Zone this time. So I only really watch it once a year.
Oh,
well, yeah, but I heard about
that's the best channel.
I'm in 8 fantasy leagues, so I'm just sitting on Red Zone, just I got a problem. I think I need to go to Fantasy Footballers Anonymous. It's getting out of hand.
Well, I'm obsessed, so I just stay on that. At 1:00 we play. I'm focused. It's tunnel vision for me. You know me.
I guess that you would never get to watch your team if you only watch the Red Zone channel.
Well, I'm local, so mine's,
But if you watch
Me
Red
too.
Zone,
I can't talk. Niners are in shambles. I can't talk this year.
if you watch Red Zone, they'd have to turn to Washington in a scoring drive, which never happens. So I guess
right. I would never see that team. You're right. Especially in the last month. You say it as a joke, but
they make an exception because they're supposed to show every touchdown, and they're like, no, like Washington, we're going to leave this one out. No one actually cares that J.D. McKissick just scored. So thanks.
All right, December 12th, Kenneth. Laugh now, cry later. Jer, what's your biggest overreaction?
Oh man! First off, amazing shot by Pat right there. Like that was a good one. And Coach, I love you, but I think we know who's going to be crying with those Dallas Cowboys matchups. So I got to say that. My biggest overreaction, because I kind of have to scramble here because I didn't really have one off the top of my head, but I'll say I think the Buffalo Bills are going to be out in the wild card round as of now with how they're looking. It's not to that level, but I remember last year when it was the Seahawks lost to the Giants that made me officially push my chips to the table. And I went on Overreaction Monday and I said the Seahawks will lose in the wild card round, and they lost. Now the Bills aren't to that level yet. I still think I think the Bills are way better than what that last year's Seahawks team was. I think that they can fix, the issues that they have, kind of like to what Pat said that the Chiefs also need to do. Just take what the defense is giving to you, especially in the Chiefs case. And I'll let one of you guys maybe handle the Chiefs if they're up for your combo. But the Bills, they can't fall into that trap that Kansas City is kind of falling in, where they're going to play specific defenses against you because of the way you run things, because of who your quarterback is. You need to have a better way to utilize the skill set, because I always start to fall out of love with teams that aren't utilizing everything to their full advantage. And the Bills are kind of starting to do that. I remember last year in the wild card game against the Colts, I was very bullish. I said the Bills will win that game, but the Colts will be I literally thought the Colts are going to be 1 or 2 plays away from potentially upsetting the Bills. And lo and behold, it was up to the very last throw of the Colts' final drive. They could have beat the Bills and shocked them. And that whole magical regular season where Stephon Diggs was Offensive Player of the Year, Josh Allen was an MVP candidate, would have been for nothing. So the Bills, they aren't at that level yet, but I'm really starting to get concerned. And if I had to overreact, because this is what it is, I think the Bills, it's a real chance that they could lose during wild card weekend and go from a Super Bowl contender to a bust this season.
Yeah, big time.
Dang.
Mo, what you got?
I hate doing this. I really hate doing this. But I'm going to do it because I never liked the little shit anyway. The New York Jets are going to be looking very hard. There's going to be a quarterback competition, and Zach Wilson will not be the starting quarterback for the New York Jets next year. I'm just going to say it. They might even entertain drafting a quarterback. I fully believe that it's not a coincidence that Zach Wilson is out. And I get it. I do hate giving up on rookies, but we've seen it happen before. Tua could be given up on for an upgrade of a Deshaun Watson. I think the New York Jets in a trade, they have a lot of draft picks. That's something to pay attention to. I'm not saying they get Aaron Rodgers, but let's just say a disgruntled Russell Wilson. Not everybody has a no trade clause in their contract like Deshaun Watson does, where they could kind of control. They're going to have, I think, 3 top 10 picks possibly. But that offense looked amazing without Zach Wilson behind center. Mike White looked like a god. And even prior to him getting hurt, he started off playing amazing. After the first drive, the next drive he got hurt on the touchdown that he connected with Elijah Moore. That offense started rolling. And then Josh Johnson comes in and throws for over 300 yards. I think 3 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he threw a pick, but it was just inevitable for him to make a mistake because it's the New York Jets. Vegas, I'm not saying Vegas, but it's just destiny could not let them backdoor cover against the Colts. It would have pissed off a lot of people. That interception probably won people a lot of money. Honestly, because they didn't backdoor cover. And then if you did think they were going to cover, then him throwing that interception pissed you off. But it's just, it can't be something that Mike White steps in, never really thrown an NFL pass, and he looks absolutely amazing. Josh Johnson, who's been a journeyman quarterback, he's 35 years old. For anybody who thinks like because he's got a baby face that he's like 25 and only been in the league for like 2 years, he's 35 years old. He was once a starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers years ago when Josh Freeman got hurt. That's how long ago it was. Bruce Gradkowski was a quarterback over there in Tampa. That's how long Josh Johnson been in the league. But they come in and look like star quarterbacks. Like, I'm not saying Mike White should be a starting quarterback, but I'm saying you have to look and be like, what is it that they can do that Zach Wilson can't? Like, what is it that the offensive coordinator is trying to make Zach Wilson do that he's not doing with Mike White? Why are they so successful? And so I think with having 3 top 10 picks, I think they're going to do their due diligence and letting Mike White and Zach Wilson battle it out. Even if he gets it when he comes back, I don't think it's his to keep. I think he could lose it at any moment. And then I think with possible 3 top 10 or 3 top 15 draft picks, I think you're going to entertain quarterback. And depending on where you fall, you might entertain a Matt Corral if you love him. You might even snag a guy like Desmond Ridder in the second round. Maybe even if you just want him to test Zach Wilson as a starter, maybe you see something in him where like we can have a healthy quarterback competition. We don't love Mike White, but it's something about it where this gives me like Josh Rosen vibes because they're not going to bring in a new head coach, but at the same time, like Salah ain't going to have but another year to get it right. And so he's going to have to pick, he's going to have to go in there and he's going to have to pick what he feels right. And I don't think he's going to ride his job on Zach Wilson. So I don't think Zach Wilson will be the Jets starting quarterback next year.
Who knew the Jets had 3 franchise quarterbacks and none of them are the second overall pick that they selected?
And shout out to Josh Johnson, man. Former Washington football QB, gave us a nice win on a cloudy day in Jacksonville in December 2018. Shout out to him. So, and to your point, yeah, I think Zach gonna be there, and I think another the thing is but it's a indication. Let me know that that Mike LaFleur is doing his thing. Matt's brother. I think he's another offensive man that's coming up. Yeah,
that's like. So you're looking like I kind of felt like this year Mac Jones would have more success than everybody. I just felt like he went to the best situation for this year. You got Bill Belichick and you got Josh McDaniels. Like, he'll be fine. He's not going to ask. They're not going to put any more on his plate than he can handle. So that's why Mac Jones looks as good as he does right now. But I think you think New York's looking and they're like, man, like you're seeing how dynamic Justin Fields is. Has he played great? No, not by any means. But you're still seeing like he had over 100 rush yards last year. Like you're watching that as Mike LaFleur and you're like, man, it's just I don't think Zach Wilson has that ability. He doesn't have that escape ability that Justin Fields has. He's not going to be able to. He's a little bit athletic, but he's not going to be able to make extend plays. But Patrick Mahomes had all these beautiful sidearm throwers of the football. He's the reason why Zach Wilson went number 2. He's the reason why the Packers looked at Jordan Love because of these small college guys. Even though Mahomes went to Texas Tech, but these small college guys who make these plays with turning their heads and throwing no-look passes, made it sexy, and that's why a guy like Zach Wilson went ahead of Justin Fields. But you don't think, like, the front office is looking and like, man, we already feel like we took the wrong quarterback, but both our quarterbacks sitting behind him are better than him. Like, they came in – to me, if Mike White if he come and started playing terrible last week, then I'd say, okay. But he was on the, like, okay, he's getting rolling. He threw a touchdown. And then Josh Johnson came in and played absolutely amazing. I can't think it's a coincidence that the 2 second and third string quarterbacks looked amazing in this offense and Zach Wilson looked terrible.
I'm sure you guys said it last week, but Mike White was the first Jets quarterback to throw for 400 plus passing yards since not Joe Namath. Vinny Testaverde, I think. Was it in 2000? Was it?
But Vinny in the Jets.
Yeah,
I guess. Man, you guys are. This is wild. There's no Mike. These 2 guys had no pressure on them. They came in and just got to sling the ball over the field.
Right.
Zach Wilson as a number 2 pick has a little bit of more pressure than these guys coming in after injury. They had nothing to lose. He did go into Tennessee and beat Tennessee and put up some good numbers that game. He
outplayed Ryan
Belichick's
defense. Outplayed Ryan Tannehill.
Outplayed Matt Stafford.
Wait, is this the part of the show where we get to slander the Titans? Because I'm in.
Oh, yeah. I'm not speaking his name.
Look at the Josh Rosen. Like, my thing is, and I know it was different because they brought in a new head coach. So, and we kind of knew Cliff Kingsbury. wasn't about loving Rosen. We knew he loved Kyler Murray. He tried to recruit him coming out of high school. Like, we knew the connection there, and we expected that to happen. Josh Rosen never got a fair shot. But, like, do you not think that it's a possibility that New York's looking, and they're like, okay, we knew we weren't getting our hands on Trevor Lawrence. Everybody and their mama knew that. But they're looking at how Mac Jones is playing. They're looking at the dynamic aspect of Justin Fields, and they're already thinking maybe we took the wrong draft pick in the first place. I think they're already like we might have took the wrong quarterback. I know there's no pressure, but for them to look for Mike White, and Mike White threw 2 picks also. That's another thing, was he did have his 2 turnovers where all could have went bad for a quarterback of Mike White's stature in that situation. And he still turned it around and beat what we thought was a quality team. And then, Mike White goes out. We're like, okay, Josh Johnson's in. Yeah, this game, even if they had a shot, it's all out the window. And it's not about, like, the game was never necessarily close, but Josh Johnson played absolutely amazing for a guy who hasn't really taken a snap in, like, 6 years. Like, he played good for a guy who hasn't taken a snap in 6 years. And I know, like, Zach Wilson has all the pressure, but you got coaches coach for their jobs. GMs need to keep their jobs, and it's based on draft picks. So to think that Mike White's playing amazing, if Zach Wilson don't play next week, Mike White's able to play and he looks good again, like, I think there'll be a healthy quarterback competition for the rest of the year. And I think, like, they're going to go into the offseason maybe not looking to draft a quarterback, but they're going to do their due diligence on Matt Corral, Kenny Pickett, all those guys coming out. They're going to be there front row watching all of them on their pro days and everything. And I think ultimately, if they make a decision that they fall in love with one of those guys, I don't think Zach Wilson will be a starting quarterback next year.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a possibility. I just think that they got to give him more time. I mean, Elijah Moore's banged up early in the season. They didn't get any sort of production from the running backs early in the season. And all of a sudden, Michael Carter had 12 catch. I played him against him in fantasy last week, and he had like 50 points on me for some reason. But in the game, it was 28-7 early, I think. The Colts were up 28-7, so they're going to throw the ball. The Colts are going to play shell defense. He looked good, but I think Zach's got to get a little bit more of a chance. But, no, it's definitely a possibility what you're saying. I just think it's a little early.
I think so, too. I hate doing it. Like, I really hate doing it to rookie quarterbacks. I think you should give them – I think by 2.5 years, if they come in as your starting quarterback, I think by the 2.5 to the end, like 3-year mark, like, you should know if you're not already in contract talks, to me, then that might not be your guy. I know there are special circumstances like Dak, then you got Baker and Lamar, because they had some questions behind them. They had to answer them. But for the most part, when you draft a guy number 2, like, if after 3 years you're not even in contract talks with him, he might not be the guy. Like Baker might not be the guy for Cleveland. Like, they're still not in contract talks. He's still not signed an extension going into, what is this, year 4? So you do look at it. That's why you question Baker, because Josh Allen got his, Patrick Mahomes got his. Like, all these guys get theirs, and then you got guys like Baker who don't. So I think you should give him 2.5 to 3 years, but I don't think quarterbacks are getting that kind of time anymore. People are already – Deshaun Watson's unhappy. Who knows where – he has a no-trade clause, so he's good. If he don't want to go to the Jets, he ain't going. Russell Wilson might become unhappy. People are already rumoring him to the Jets. I remember at one point last year in the offseason that it'd be a possibility. They're doing their due diligence or whatever. But to say that some of these guys who are unhappy that couldn't end up in the Jets uniform at quarterback, like, I think they would entertain any option that seems like an upgrade over Zach Wilson. And that's including if you find a prospect that you think is a possible upgrade over Zach Wilson in the draft. I think they will really do their due diligence for, in the draft process and be at front row at all of their spots to overall possibly move on from Zach Wilson.
But yeah, Zach Wilson is. Yeah,
remember at the start of the show when Mo was like super nice to Baker, and then it came full circle.
Right.
You guys saw that too, right? Like I had to make sure that like I wasn't just hearing things. Like,
but I didn't.
He's getting a shot.
Like, I'm gonna give Baker my flowers, but then I'm also gonna bring up the fact that he hasn't got a contract extension.
The flowers have a beehive in them, Ken. If that's why.
Yeah. Oh, he got no water.
You like reach in thinking that it's gonna be something nice, and then it's just like a snake that just bites you.
I'm just saying though, like, to bring the example of, like, I think after about 3 years, and that's why Josh Allen and Mahomes are signed. Yeah. Cleveland's questioning, and now, like, do they franchise tag? Like, those are all the questions. So I think Zach Wilson should be allotted more time, but there's so much pressure on coaches and GMs to get it right. A lot of them don't keep their job. I mean, God, Detroit is awful, and everybody thinks that Dan Campbell should get fired, even though Detroit is as bad as we thought they were going to be with Dan Campbell as head coach. Like, they're not even giving him opportunity. Knowing Jared Goff sucked, knowing they were going to be the worst team in the NFL and have a chance at the number 1 pick, who we thought would be Spencer Rattler. But I think, like, the whole draft looks a lot worse now that there's not really a quarterback you would take number 1. But people like Detroit has been underwhelming. So I'm just looking at the quarterback. Like, people are already calling for coaches and quarterbacks. If Justin Fields and them take the next step going into next year, halfway through next season, all of them look good and Zach Wilson look horrible, Salah might be gone. Zach Wilson going to be benched, and he going to be like on some Sam Darnold status where we still talk about his talent that he had at BYU in the first place. And we're going to be watching BYU tape, hoping that he could save some other franchise, having to just come to realize maybe he's just not the guy we thought he was.
I mean,
So Zach Wilson's going to be a Carolina Panther.
I mean,
That's what it
hey,
tells me.
No, Mitch Trubisky's going to Carolina next year.
Even worse. Huh?
I feel bad for Detroit, but like I also don't, because I got $100 on them for the worst record in the NFL at 3-1 odds. So like if they want to go 0-17, like my bank account's not gonna apologize for that.
They picked the wrong year to go 0-17 with no
Jets
quarterback.
wouldn't entertain Trubisky. Like, who's to say the Jets wouldn't entertain Trubisky? Like, he's a free agent, right? Didn't he only sign a 1 deal?
Yeah, he's going back to North Carolina, baby. Carolina, they got weapons. Trubisky's return.
Joe
Next
Brady.
year, what?
The Jets do have weapons low key though. Like, they got Elijah Moore.
So does Carolina. Like Carolina's the best situation for him.
Right.
Carolina really is.
If Joe Brady turns Mitch Trubisky into an all-pro quarterback, give him any job that he wants.
He
Like,
already
that'd
made
be
the
That's
amazing.
gonna make Matt Nagy look crazy.
He made the Pro Bowl, and he's winning record. Here we go. Here's the deal. Brady's going to
Exactly.
go.
There we go.
Anymore.
Pro Bowl.
The Pro Bowl
Exactly.
doesn't
Brady
even-
retired.
He
The
made
top
he
10
made it though.
quarterbacks don't play in the Pro Bowl anymore. The top 10 quarterbacks in the league don't play in the Pro Bowl.
This was 3 years ago.
yeah, they
Brady's
don't-
gonna
the
retire.
top 10 quarterbacks don't play in the Pro Bowl anymore. Everybody opts out of that.
Still,
Panthers win the AFC or the NFC South next year when Brady retires.
And Mitch Trubisky takes over.
Yeah.
Makes
I
over
mean, it's
Carolina.
not like he's got stiff competition. He's got Jameis
Be better than
Winston and Matt Ryan's carcass, and like
Kyle Trask. when
he's gonna be
overturned.
fine. Like,
right.
Kyle's asked, like,
Well,
he's
hold
got-
on. Bold of you to assume, Pat, that Tom Brady is not going to try to play until he's 55. Like, I think that's the biggest
I do
flaw in
play
your
the
theory
50.
right there.
he's gonna keep drinking them kale smoothies and whatever the hell else he's doing.
Avocado ice cream.
Ice cream.
He's
Yeah,
got avocado ice cream. I think he just has that in his water bottle at this point. It's just melted down for him.
Right.
Mitch
Right.
Trubisky, last Trubisky point. He's the same quarterback as Ryan Tannehill.
Ooh.
He's a starter. So
Yeah.
He just played for Matt Nagy.
Yeah.
Like,
Equally
yeah, he
trapped.
played for Matt Nagy. Yeah. Once he get a good offensive mind, he good. You know, that boy good.
yeah,
just
I
gotta
think
give him
he'll
some
bounce
time.
back. I think he'll bounce back. He'll end up in a better situation. But I mean, that would be my point though. Like, let's not like. What if the Jets are looking and they're like, okay, Trubisky's gonna have to prove it as a starting quarterback if you want any type of money. We go get him for the cheap. Bring a quarterback battle between Zach Wilson and Trubisky. Not bad to have Trubisky as your backup if he loses the spot, but like he could go in there and win the starting job, and now like you move off of Zach Wilson. Like, it's Trubisky young enough to make that decision where like you're not, oh, we're bringing in a Tom Brady for a year. Like, Trubisky young enough where if he's your guy, like, okay, we can move forward, figure out contract situations and stuff, whatever. I'm just saying. I just very well.
Trubisky's better than like 8 starters in the NFL right now. Like he could. go to a
Trubisky could win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah,
As a
Right.
backup.
If Buffalo, if he with Buffalo, and
I
somehow
hope
Josh
he
Allen
does that because then he can go around flexing that he's a Super Bowl champ.
Like,
and then really get paid.
Jimmy G flexes his 2 rings when he was riding the bench behind Tom Brady. Like, is that what
Yeah.
we're going to do? Like,
Yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
Jimmy got to the Super Bowl.
everybody right
And lost
ain't
it.
Wrong with a backup shot of Tyrod. Tyrod got a ring.
He got there.
I take it.
G did get there. Like,
He
everybody.
threw 8 passes in the NFC Championship game. What are we talking
That's
about?
because
They had Maserati, though.
That's because they
Yeah,
had 300 yards
Yeah,
on the
Maserati.
ground.
No, I know, but like
Why,
when
why are you throwing?
if you win the game and your quarterback threw less than 10 passes, like you can't give anything to the quarterback. Like, I'm not giving him credit for getting
He
in
went
there.
13-2 that year. Threw for I don't know how 4,000 yards, a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah.
And where are they now? Where are they now that he's back? Like they're losing, and we're talking about Trey
Yeah,
Lance.
but they've had
I'll say this.
injuries. And, yeah,
They've had injuries, and they also have an overrated coach. So That's been the problem with San Francisco is that injuries and they have an overrated coach. Kyle Shanahan's not as great as everybody thinks, but
I don't
yes, I'm
know.
not gonna
I mean,
do.
he all right though.
But he's overrated.
23.
He is not like he's not this guy that everybody says he went to the Super Bowl as an offensive coordinator. And everybody tells me when they talk about Kyle Shanahan, he's great. He's a great play caller. That sounds like you're describing an offensive coordinator. As a head coach, he has a losing record. But as a head coach, he has a losing record. He doesn't win games. Without Jimmy G, his teams are absolutely horrible. I get it. Like, do I expect him to be great with CJ Beathard? No, I don't. But like he doesn't, it's not like his offenses are always the most elite. Yeah, he's a great play caller, but he's overrated as a head coach. Like any guy not named with that doesn't have the last name royalty of Shanahan, and his predicament is fired. Like
last year was thrown out.
And Beathard is a protected man. Leave CJ alone. That's
Oh my god.
that's Bobby grandson now.
But I'm just saying
we could throw out last year. Last year there's
last year was a
almost NFL record for injuries. This year he's calling horrible plays. Brandon Ayuk was basically benched, and now you can see he can still play football. That takes away a big weapon. I don't know what Shanahan's doing this year. It's a disaster.
Yeah. But hey, come on back to Washington if you.
Y'all can have one. That just means we're gonna have another 10-year run and win. We'll have a 10-year run and win in the NFC East if y'all take Shanahan as your head coach. So y'all can have him
back. But yeah, man. Yeah. Shout out to Zach Wilson, man. He's number one in Jets fans and page 56 in the algebra textbooks.
They just turned on him. They believe in Mike White. They turned on him.
Oh yeah, Mike White is a celebrity,
Wilson, bro.
A Broadway Mike. But yeah, But hey, Sam could be there too. Don't front.
Sam, beware.
Sam in New York.
Sam who?
Sam Howell.
Oh, okay. I think you're talking about Darnold.
I'm like,
So they're gonna blow another
the
first round
return of Darnold after all the great
Sam Howell, the other UNC quarterback.
I'm like,
the other nephew.
Going back. I thought you was going to that's my point though. They could look at Sam Howell and be like, man, we love that guy a lot more than Zach Wilson. We missed on Zach Wilson. Right. You'll rather get off if you feel like you missed on Zach Wilson, you'll rather get off him year one than be sitting here looking like Miami. Like Brian Flores now, like his job is he even going to be the head coach in Miami? Like, no. If he doesn't pull off this trade early in the offseason for Deshaun Watson, like he's not going to be the head coach in Miami. I think the rest of his tenure in Miami depends on pulling off this trade for Deshaun Watson. Because, like, had they moved on from Tua this year and drafted a quarterback, like, let's say they had grabbed Justin Fields, nobody would be upset. He'd get at least a year. But so it wouldn't have been wrong to move off of Tua right away. If you don't move off of Zach Wilson right away, everybody's going to be looking. You're going to be criticized. He's going to be criticized. Your job's going to be on the line to where Robert Saleh gets his first opportunity to be a head coach and may never have another opportunity to be anything more than defensive coordinator again if he can't get the quarterback situation right. That's just the unfortunate events that happens, especially Robert Saleh. He's a minority.
Hopefully they turn it around. And I like what they're doing. Shout out to Joe Douglas, a Richmond, Virginia guy. And the GM, but I think they're gonna ride the ship. I think they're gonna be all right. Mike LaFleur, I think he's gonna another up and coming guy in the league. I think it's gonna make some headline. But yeah, they're gonna be fine. I think they're gonna be fine. I think because that's their only really they got a lot of other question marks, but I think they starting to get some pieces together. And I think that's the beauty thing about the Jets. They got a solid offensive line. Emerging running backs, good playmaking receivers. I think they'll be fine. It's just like you said, getting the quarterback is going to be the biggest issue. But I think they're going to give. I would say they'll get Salah some time. I think they'll at least give him about 2-3 years tops.
But Zach Wilson should have never been the number 2 pick in the first place. So
I mean,
that's true.
It doesn't matter is if he doesn't have any upside after this season. You're looking at like you already see the progression of Justin Fields. Like it's not like he's played great, but he hit rock bottom early. It's only up from there, and he's improved week by week. Like you see, okay.
All he needs is a new head coach.
Better. Yeah, but like he's starting to get better. You see, Mac Jones has gotten better. Like Trevor Lawrence is. We can
say the same thing for Zach. I think Zach had flashes in the season, and then he got hurt. So once he kind of comes back, let's just put it. Hey, when he come back in a few more weeks, let's see what he does.
Yeah, one game.
He said, huh?
Yeah, one game. He had one game against Tennessee where he looked decent.
He's at a better. He has but Tennessee is what 6-2, 7-2.
Yeah, like half of their team was injured though. Like that was
But it don't
the
matter.
way to look good.
It's professional football though.
He
He's still.
also threw 4 picks.
There we go.
I'm just saying.
Mo hates Zach Wilson.
It's like you can't get this man no one.
Add him to the list, bro.
All the financial
Zach Wilson,
behind
Tua,
the
Sam
overall pick.
Darnold.
I never thought we would
Baker.
be having a half-hour-long discussion about Zach Wilson and the New York Jets. We're sitting here talking about a team that is so irrelevant that they don't even realize how irrelevant they are.
They're gonna be all right, though. That's what I said. I think they're gonna be fine. I think, and like you said, we gotta give.
What's the
Zach is
definition
incomplete at
of
this point.
fine? Like,
I mean, I think they're making strides. They're making improvement. They're definitely not the 2020 team that just.
I mean, the players are
horrible.
fine because at least they live in New York and have a great nightlife to drown their sorrows of the fact that they play for the New York Jets.
Who want to live up
But
there?
outside of that, there's not a lot.
And the winters are brutal. Nah, I'm good, bro.
They
I
can
wanna
at
be down
least, they
south.
can at least
Don't
enjoy.
complain to me about brutal winters. It's fine. They'll be all right in New York.
You in Canada, dude. Like anybody that lives south of New York is like, what the hell is this? Like,
But
why
they
is
can
this
at
so
least
cold?
they can at least
Coach, is that your way of saying that you're
I'm
never
New York,
coming to
man.
visit me
I
in
mean, that's how I
Canada?
react to all of you.
It's gonna be probably March.
I got you, Ken, if I'll visit you.
March it's still minus 30, so like maybe push it into May.
April, Easter, Easter early at best. Easter. It Easter in April, not March.
I was in the Pacific Northwest. Don't tell me about brutal, okay? It was freezing cold up there too. Kenneth, don't tell me about no brutal.
Shit.
I'm never leaving Cali.
I don't blame you, Pat.
Smart man.
Minus
I'm
55 about to hit.
Taxes
like
and all, I
60.
still I don't blame you. Shoot. But yeah, man. So let's put a bow on this week's Overreaction Monday. So, fellas, I'll go around the horn, final thoughts, and social media. Kenneth, what you got?
Follow me on all social platforms at shooters_pod. Fade my betting plays because I'm not Pat. And check out Bets on Bets every Sunday morning. Guys on fire.
All right. Pat.
Yeah, man. Bets on bets. Finally got that 3-0 week. I think I don't know what I'm 70, almost 70% over the past 7 weeks. But yeah, Say It Out Loud Sports. We do a new episode every Tuesday, but most importantly, Off the Ball Network. You guys are here. Just go follow everybody here, and that's it. That's all I got to plug.
Yeah. Jerg, what you got?
At Bunts and Bruises on Wednesday nights at 7 or 7:30 p.m. Depends on when James's work life actually allows him to be able to sit down and record. But he one of the hardest working men I know, so we always bring it every single Wednesday. Part of this amazing network that we are part of, and I'm proud. First show I ever got to do with Pat tonight, so that's another achievement off of my checklist. I'm very happy about that. But yeah, make sure you follow everything on the Off the Ball Network and catch Bunts and Bruises this Wednesday. We're going to be talking about some stuff in the NHL and among other things. The Jack Eichel trade finally happened. He's free, and we're going to break that down on the show and why it's good. James is going to be celebrating as his coach. Their Vegas Golden Knights got a big-time player. So yeah, it's going to be a fun time this Wednesday night.
Yeah. Mo, what you got?
Yeah, you can follow me at Up in Flames Pod on Twitter, Instagram, Mo_Cheese15 on Twitter, Instagram. Make sure you check out Off the Ball Mondays on Dash Radio on the Nothing But Net channel, starting with myself at 11 a.m. Eastern, going all the way. The final show ends at 4 p.m. Eastern, if I'm not mistaken. Myself, then Chris, the Prez, and Off the Ball, then Breaking the Game, then Shooters, then the Hoopers. I think I got that in the right order. I don't remember. But yeah, so make sure you check out all those shows, kind of 5 hours of Hoops Talk over there on Dash Radio. And then make sure you go to offtheballnetwork.com for all your sports season entertainment. Everybody here puts out great work, podcasts, and just, stay tuned for big things coming in the future.
All right. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, under CouchCoach Live. Check out the podcast on Tuesday nights. Also, check me out on the Washington Football Guys podcast this week, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, as we preview our playoff rematch against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Don't laugh, guys. It did happen last year. And then also follow everybody here. And also, always great to be a part of the best 4-letter words in sports, Off the Ball Network. So, fellas, appreciate you once again for coming on this week's Overreaction Monday. And we'll catch you guys next week. We out.